not a shadowy cabal of woke Jews. It's just the people who own the means of production. They're not shy about it. People like Warren Buffett routinely admit there's a class war being waged, and that the capitalists want to make sure that they win it. The glorious fascist revolution that these self-proclaimed patriots want, it's not revolutionary at all. It's just turning back the clock to a time where these class antagonisms were less apparent, where the capitalist class still had complete control over society, but maybe black people had fewer rights. If that's your vision of utopia, you're a moron. You are risking decades in prison because you want to make sure the boot stays on your neck because you like the lies the boot spouts while it's stepping on you. The Republicans love fascists because it's an ideology that maintains the economic status quo. They don't like it when their useful idiots try to lynch them, so people have to go to jail for that. But on the whole, there's a reason the ruling class tolerates fascism and not socialism. Socialism is genuinely revolutionary, whereas fascism is just a cancerous offshoot of capitalism that can, in their mind, be used as a tool when needed. And this isn't the first time the ruling class has taken advantage of economic precarity. Once upon a time, a group of super wealthy capitalists hatched a scheme to try to convince a group of vulnerable Americans to launch an insurrection and overthrow the government, at which point the group of oligarchs would establish what amounted to a fascist dictatorship in the service of capital. Sounds a bit like January 6th, doesn't it? This attempted coup was called the business plot, and it actually happened way back in 1933. The short version is that a retired general, one Smedley Butler, was approached by a would-be financier who offered him funding and 500,000 men to lead an insurrection to depose then-President FDR. Roosevelt's election and subsequent economic reforms have horrified conservative businessmen, who saw him as a socialist. So, naturally, when given the choice between socialism and fascism, they overwhelmingly sided with fascism, telling Butler they hoped to install him as an all-powerful Secretary of General Affairs, while Roosevelt would assume a figurehead role. Unfortunately for the plotters, Butler ratted them out. In his later years, General Butler had come to support FDR, who was a fairly outspoken critic of capitalism, referring to his past self as a high-class muscleman for Wall Street. The business plot failed, and it gives us a great example of how economic security can be weaponized to fascist ends. The capitalists understood that thousands of First World War veterans were disenchanted with the U.S., having not received their promised benefits. They figured if they could just get a popular, willing leader to stoke the discontent into a fascist fervor, they'd have free reign of the country's economy, creating an unholy merger of capital and the state, a cornerstone of fascism. What we're seeing today is the same hallmarks of every other period where fascism has grown in popularity. Economic insecurity, the formation of fascist paramilitaries, and a series of charismatic figures trying to tap into the rising tide of far-right populism for personal gain. While it's important to have empathy for people who are struggling economically and looking for answers, once someone chooses to become a fascist, they are a threat. But it's also important to realize that these people are by and large losers and cowards. They talk a big game, but they run away when faced with anti-fascist resistance. Instead of getting up on a soapbox like their idols, they target children with hate speech and lurk online. They wear ridiculous outfits complete with cardboard shields. And if we're being honest, most of these people don't really match the Ubermensch archetype. At the end of the day, they're pathetic reactionaries who whine about wokeness, weaponize culture and religion to spread a hateful message with no basis in reality. But that doesn't mean they're not dangerous. Never underestimate your enemy, especially when they convince themselves that they are the chosen ones and everybody else is subhuman. So, the U.S. headed for fascism? Yes and no. The U.S. is a separate colonial imperialist project. It's primed for fascism by default. Any nation dependent on the exploitation of others is one bad quarter away from going fully colonial. That being said, the economic conditions that allow for the growth of fascism also result in a greater class consciousness, which gives socialism a chance to fight back. Under every single fascist regime in history, the socialists were the first target, because fascists know that socialism is a threat to capital, and that any truly egalitarian system has to be a system that is capitalist. Fascists don't want revolutionary change. They want violent increase to the status quo, and they want to turn the violence of the empire, usually reserved for foreigners, inward, suppressing whatever groups they don't like. So yes, fascism is on the rise. So is socialism. And it's our job to make sure this time, fascists don't get their way. That instead, we forge a path towards a brighter, more humane future. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that this channel is entirely grassroots funded. Since sponsors don't want to touch videos like these, we have to rely on the generous support of viewers like you. If you'd like to help keep this channel afloat and get some great perks while you're at it, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. All patrons, regardless of pledge amount, get early access to every video, plus access to our patrons-only Discord server. We just did a major update to the Discord, with a revamped leveling system and monthly Discord nightly giveaways back to members. We've also got a bunch of other cool stuff like the book club, live Q&As with me every month, and a dedicated educator role for users ready to answer any questions you have about socialism. We've built a thriving community, and we'd love for you to be part of it. So if you'd like to join the Discord, get early access to every video, and help support genuinely principled socialist content, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/SecondThought. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like. If you hated it, a thumbs down. You can check out our other content by following the links on your screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.